إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد. عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن الله تعالى ينهاكم أن تحلفوا بآبائكم. إن الله تعالى ينهاكم أن تحلفوا بآبائكم. من كان حالفا فليحلف بالله أو ليصمت. This hadith, reported by Abdullah ibn Umar, refers to people who swear a lot or need to swear. So he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade you from swearing by your parents. Anyone who wants to swear, he should swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, or be quiet means don't swear. And this is very common, that we find people swearing with things besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يعني كثير من الناس يحلفوا بالآباء ويحلفوا في الزوجات أو في الأزواج ويحلفوا بالأمانة ويحلفوا بالصلاة ويحلفوا بالشوارب ويحلفوا يعني it gets ridiculous sometimes that people swear with their mustache. So they swear by their parents, by their husbands, by their wives, by their children, by your life, by the amana. There's another hadith, it says, من حلف بالأمانة فليس منا. Anyone who swears by the amana is not one of us, meaning he's not one of the Muslims. Now, this hadith tells you if you want to swear, swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in particular he said, don't swear by your parents. Another hadith, hadith آخر, Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه قال: من حلف فقال في حلفه باللات والعزى فليقل لا إله إلا الله. ومن قال لصاحبه تعال نقامر أو تعال أقامرك فليتصدق. Anyone who swears and he says in his swearing by Al-Lat wal-Uzza. Lat wal-Uzza, they're idols of the time of the Prophet ﷺ, pagans worship. Their names are derived from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a form of deviation in the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they derive the name, yarhamukallah, they derive the name from the name of Allah. So they call the idol Al-Lat. And they derived for Al-Uzza from the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Al-Aziz. So they called Al-Uzza. So this is disfiguring the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, anyone who swears by Al-Lat wal-Uzza, then he should say La ilaha illallah. Why? Because he committed shirk. This is small shirk, even if you don't mean it. Because a lot of people, you say, oh, I don't mean that, I just want to do such and such. There is no such a thing. When there is a text that tells you don't do, that means don't do, regardless of your intention. So when you do that, and that means if you do it in any other forms that I mentioned, you say La ilaha illallah, because that's what brings you back to the folds of Islam. When you swear, this is shirk. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, anyone who tells his friend, let's gamble, then he should give charity. Gambling is when you play with another person, money for money. You either win or you lose. This is gambling. This is haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connected it with alcohol and with idols. In the ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. If you want to be successful, stay away from this. So gambling is a major sin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connected it with idols and connected it with drinking alcohol. So anyone who tells his friend, let's gamble, whether he meant it or did not mean it, whether it happened or not, you give charity. Why you give charity? Because you just committed a big sin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Good deeds erases bad deeds. So you did something bad, you give money to make something good, so it will erase the bad that you have done. So that tells you something, the last part at least. Anytime you sin, punish yourself with a good deed. So every time you have a sin that you used to, or you're trying to quit and you can't, whenever you do it, then say, if I do this, I'm going to pray 2 rak'ah. If I do this, I'm going to read 1 juz of Quran. And this is a promise between you and yourself. It teaches you, even though you're doing a righteous deed, but it's not an easy thing for you. Normally you don't do that. So you put a righteous deed you do that you either not acquainted to or maybe difficult for you. Like do qiyam, 2 rak'ah, or fast, and you don't really like fasting that much. So put something hard on yourself, and that way it will teach you to quit that sin, and at the same time you get used to doing the good deed and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So stay away from swearing by anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran is included. You can do that because it is a quality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's His word. So this is no problem with that. So other than that, everything swearing is haram. Regardless how important it is haram, as the Prophet ﷺ said. So if you swear with anything, you say La ilaha illallah. If you tell your friend let's gamble, jokingly even, you give charity to, inshallah, erase that sin. Tfaddal, brother.
Okay, so you answered my question. So you give charity, you don't receive charity.
No, you give. You give, exactly, because you want to get good deeds, yes. But what I'm saying is you give charity, like if you do any of those, but if you sin, you have a sin you're trying to quit, but you're not. Make it hard on yourself by doing something good. So you're not going to do anything good. So a punishment, if you think of it this way, I mean, I don't know how to phrase it for you. Doing good deed, it's not a punishment, but it is a punishment for someone who doesn't do it. And this is on yourself. You're not imposing it on your child or on your wife or husband or something like that, on yourself. Say, for instance, if I talk about people behind their back, I'm going to pray 2 rak'ah qiyam al-layl. Then you do that. Every time you do that, you fulfill that. Guaranteed, you will stop doing that. And you'll find yourself getting used to qiyam al-layl at the same time, because definitely you're going to fall in it a few times before you quit it, because it's not something that's that easy. Any questions? جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.